Russell, and this is the last and final interview of my four-part series of interviews with Barbara Steffens, author of Your Sexually Addicted Spouse, How Partners Can Cope and Heal. Welcome back, Barbara, and I can't believe we're at the end of our series.
Oh, I can't believe it either. I've so appreciated the opportunity to do this, so I'm looking forward to our conversation now.
Oh, I appreciate it too. Barbara, in part 3 of this interview series, we talked about the physical and mental effects that stress and trauma have on the partners of sex addicts. Today in this part of our series, we're going to talk about how partners of sex addicts can heal from the trauma and stress of discovery and go forward with a positive purpose. Barbara, after the discovery and after the storm, what are the most important issues that a partner of a sex addict must address in order to move forward in a healthy way?
Okay, well, I think the first issue is the issue of responsibility. Most partners experience sex addiction as something about them. It's a very personal affront. It feels like a rejection.
Yes.
They experience it as an evaluation, and that they've been found caught, lacking. They're not enough. And this can linger in their beliefs in their heart, even when they know that they didn't cause it. They know it in their head, but in their heart, that's a different story. It's such a personal betrayal, so much more so than any other form of addictive behavior, that's for sure. And I find that this issue comes up over and over again as the healing progresses. And I think sometimes this is an area where it can be helpful to look at past experiences where the partner maybe was given similar messages. This is all your fault, or if you would only have done this, this wouldn't have happened.
Yes.
And so we find sometimes that lingering belief that they learned early on is what's resonating along with this betrayal. I mean, this betrayal is traumatic in and of itself, but for a lot of folks, it just scrapes up against this other message that they received over and over again in their life, that when bad things happen, it's their fault. So I find that one is a real key belief that we address over and over again. Another one is the issue of reconciliation and what that would take. A lot of partners, due to the length of time in the relationship, their deep love for the person, really would like to be able to reconcile, but they really aren't clear as to whether or not it's possible or what it would take. So after the storm, that's the time to consider, is it possible and what it would take to happen. We don't recommend that you decide if you are going to reconcile or not during the storm, during that crisis stage. Usually during a crisis, the recommendation is you don't make major life decisions until things calm down, and that you have a better ability to think more clearly. So reconciliation is a big issue. Also, to look at what you want in a relationship, and that includes what you will not tolerate. So it's an opportunity for a lot of partners to look at this seriously for the first time. You can be going along in a relationship, in a marriage, and functioning pretty well, but until there's this crisis point, some things are not put into question. So it's a real opportunity to take a look, maybe for a first time, on what do I want different? How do I want this relationship or future relationships to look?
Yes.
It can really be a defining time, a time when our values and our beliefs are tested, and we may decide that we want to make some real changes from here on out.
Yes.
So out of this, then partners can also look for meaning. And by meaning, I mean, what positives might come out of this crisis time in their life. What are some good things, some good strengths that they can develop? Where are they finding strength that they didn't know they had? This time in their life, what did they learn about themselves or about life? How will this time help form them into a stronger, wiser, more empowered person. So it's more of a meaning, inner empowerment, inner strength, even spiritual kind of time
Yes.
for a person when they go through this kind of crisis. So that's another area to look after the storm is subsided.
The silver lining.
Yeah, the silver lining, or the what's going to come out of this that's going to make me a better person, a stronger person.
Yes.
Another big area, especially for female partners, is her own sexuality.
Mm.
This is a huge issue, and for a lot of partners, female partners, an area where they've been betrayed before. We know that 1 in 3 females have been sexually abused by the time they're 18, and I have not met a woman yet who has not felt sexually exploited.
Yes.
So this idea of the sexual addiction and that personal sexual betrayal that the partner experiences, that is a huge, huge area of wounding. And it's usually one that comes up over and over again as I'm treating partners. So sexuality, feeling comfortable and sexual again.
Yes.
And ultimately, a partner will benefit from doing some forgiveness work. I think I say this in the book, and I hear it over and over again, but I'll never forget one woman in a group I was doing said forgiveness was the new F word, because it just had this meaning to her of this thing that was absolutely impossible and painful, and would mean that it's almost as if it's saying, well, this really is okay. It didn't hurt that bad. Well, forgiveness starts with understanding what in the world forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not condoning. It's not saying what happened is okay. And forgiveness is absolutely not trust. Those are different things. Forgiveness is letting go of the resentment and the bitterness.
Yes.
It is really hard to do, and it's a process. And we know that the purpose of forgiveness is for healing for the partner in the long run. It's not a step to be rushed, although the partner experiences a lot of pressure to forgive, which usually is code for let him off the hook or trust him again.
Oh, absolutely. That's so
not,
common.
yeah, it's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Forgiveness is for the partner. It serves the forgiver. It helps her release the power of that betrayal.
Yes.
The power that betrayal has in her life.
That's such a perfect description.
Yeah. So it's not to get off the hook.
Yeah, once you reach that point of letting that go, it allows you to do the other things in your life to heal. It
Yes.
does, and it does take a long time, years.
It does take time. It absolutely is a process. I tell people, as soon as you have entertained the thought that maybe someday you might want to start forgiveness, you've started the process. So good job for even thinking that you might someday want to do it.
Yes.
And it's just a step at a time. But ultimately, that is where real healing occurs for the partner and for that trauma.
Oh, absolutely. I've had some people on the site ask me this, and I know it's a really important question. What issues must be addressed if there are children in the relationship?
Well, there are a lot of different issues and questions around the kids. I know I get those questions all the time. And depending on the children's ages, it can take a lot of different forms in terms of, what the issues might be. What to tell the children is probably the most frequent question I get around, what about the kids? And again, it depends. It depends on the age and kind of the events around the sexual addiction.
Sure.
Young children need to know things like what is happening, mom and dad being upset. It has nothing to do with them. It doesn't affect mom and dad's love for their children, doesn't affect the security for the children. That's what young children need. They need to know they're safe and secure and loved. For older children, to tell them or not, that's something to be carefully discussed and considered in a planned manner. The absolute worst thing you can do to children is blurt out something in anger that you haven't thought through that is so damaging and wounding to children.
Yes.
Any disclosure to children, even adult children, needs to be carefully thought through and planned. There is a real benefit in disclosure to children, especially older children, because it gives them a context for what they're perceiving as, boy, there's a big problem between mom and dad. And kids can manufacture all sorts of things that will fill in the blank for whatever is going on.
Right.
So having accurate information can help a child, but they don't need more information than what they're developmentally prepared for. So I always recommend you talk this through with a therapist who understands sex addiction and child development, and then have a planned way of disclosing whatever does need to be disclosed.
Yes.
Now, if the sex addiction was disclosed in a very public manner, say the addict is arrested or something, you're going to have to tell them something. And how that is done, again, needs to be in a planned way. It's usually best if both people in the relationship can sit down and disclose together rather than one person disclosing. It's best if each person tell their own story when they're disclosing to children. But again, there's a lot of information to be talked about regarding the kids. That can
And
be
I
a
don't
whole
think it's just
discussion.
one conversation. I think it's probably an ongoing conversation.
Yeah,
What do you
ongoing conversation. And there's a pretty good book out called Disclosing Secrets, and I'm blanking on the author right now, but
Is that Schneider?
Could be
Yeah.
Corley and Schneider, maybe.
Yes.
Where they did some research about adult children of sex addicts and how did disclosure occur and how is it helpful and what the disclosure process might look like. So that might be another resource to check out. But there are real safety issues for children too.
Definitely.
Absolutely, as best as you can, make sure that children do not overhear inappropriate conversations or information, and absolutely not have access to sexual material. It is so important that kids do not have access to pornography, pornographic material, sexual material when they are so young, developmentally not equipped to understand what it is that they're viewing. And as we know through our understanding of sex addiction, once those kids get those images and thoughts into their brain, they don't go away. They're very formative. So those children need to be protected from that information.
And I think that's a real important situation, especially with the huge amount of internet porn addiction that's going on. If you're in a relationship with someone who has an addiction to the internet porn, if you found it, those kids can find it too.
If they haven't already. Usually kids find it before the partner finds it. So that's one of the most important safety boundaries to put in place right away is no sexually explicit material in the home, especially when there are children in the home.
Yes.
It's invasive and abusive to the partner to come across that, but it is horribly destructive for young children.
Yes, yes. You talked about support systems before and how important they are for the partner who is going through the healing process. What types of support systems can a partner tap?
Well, there's a lot of different opportunities for support. A lot of communities have support groups for partners, either a 12-step or therapy, trauma-based kind of support groups. If you can't find a support group, then at least find one or two safe friends as support. The benefit of a support group is that you're with other people who have experienced similar situations, and so they get it right away. Sometimes it can be very difficult for friends to fully understand the traumatic nature of what a partner is experiencing.
Yes.
In a lot of communities, some churches offer help and support. The faith community has done a decent job of providing some level of support for people with sex addiction. They don't do as well in providing support with partners, but some churches are actually doing that now too. There are some online support networks for partners for a lot of people, especially in remote rural areas where finding support groups next to impossible. The internet can be a great place for support and encouragement. So there's some really excellent ones out there for that. Um, but being able to connect with other people, other partners, really is the best route because they understand, they have their own experiences, things that they personally have learned that they can offer to one another.
Sure. Uh, Counseling was really vital for my recovery, and
Hmm.
a lot of people on my site talk about not going to a counselor because they can't afford it. What would you
Hmm.
say to those people?
Well, I would encourage them to look at how they might afford it. When I think about the kind of pain that a partner is in the majority of cases, I would say, how can you afford not to?
Yes.
If you were in a horrible accident and had a broken limb, you wouldn't not get it attended to because you can afford it. You need a way to attend to that wound. So
Hmm.
I want to encourage partners to find a way to attend to this. Um, I would encourage her to look at partner's expenses, and where can she or he make some changes so that some therapy might be affordable for them.
Hmm.
Um, I think therapy is more important than a dinner out or maybe Starbucks coffee or worth some other kind of accommodations. It
Certainly.
really is an investment in your long-term health. Partners can look at groups. For a lot of partners, group is sufficient, but therapy is best.
Yes.
Or those online support networks.
Hmm.
Counseling doesn't have to be a traditional hourly appointment once or twice a week. A lot of the partners that I work with, I see them maybe once or twice a month, especially once that crisis period has lessened a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, there are also professionals who offer coaching for partners of sex addicts. Now, that's not going to be mental health counseling to deal
Hmm.
with some of the extreme anxiety and those kinds of symptoms, but they can help you identify, what your goals are and help encourage you as you're moving forward in your healing. So people can do that even over the telephone or through the internet. So
Yes.
there's a lot of different ways that a partner can get at least some level of support. But I always recommend at least one face-to-face counseling session because that counselor, that trained counselor, can help you assess what your needs are and
Yes.
then at least help you establish a plan for healing.
Hmm. Uh, Barbara, could you explain the importance of setting boundaries when someone is in a relationship with a sex addict?
Well, we talked a bit about boundaries in an earlier session.
Yes.
Boundaries help us take care of ourselves. A boundary is saying, I am responsible for me. I am not responsible for you, and you are not responsible for me. So I do have a responsibility to have boundaries that helps me around people that might hurt me.
Hmm.
And then it's my responsibility to do something if my boundary is violated.
Hmm.
So those boundaries are really important in general. But if I am with someone who has an addiction, um, people with addictions, especially sexual addiction, they don't have good boundaries. They
That's right.
obviously don't have them for themselves, and certainly we can't rely on them to be thinking about our safety and our well-being, especially early in recovery or if they're not in recovery at all. So it is our job to protect ourselves, and that's the function of the boundary, to be able to communicate what I will not allow into my space, into my life.
Hmm.
It's my job to protect myself and to define what I need. And I need to do that for myself. I cannot rely on an addict to do that or to be aware of what my boundaries are. I need to communicate them,
Yes.
and then I need to maintain them.
Yes. Uh, Many addicts are unable to stop their compulsive behaviors. So, what do you suggest that the partner do in this situation?
Well, I think when I first looked at this question, when you told me I was having this, we were considering this question, I said unable or unwilling.
Yes.
And I'm still kind of there. I think, stopping compulsive behaviors is very, very difficult work. And it takes an incredible amount of courage and time and investment. But I don't think people are unable. I think it's hard.
I totally
So
agree, and that's the reason
again,
I,
I'm
I
going to
put the
say, is
question
it
there.
are they unwilling or
Yes.
more so than being unable? And I think eventually every individual partner is going to have to decide at what point can I not tolerate this any longer. And working with a support system, with a counselor, can help you as you navigate the process of making that decision. Um, so that's my answer to that.
And I've heard from so many different sources, from so many people, from so many sex addicts,
hmm
that seems to be their out is I am not in control, so
hmm
it's just expected that I'm going to slip. Well,
Yeah.
in a person who I believe is in true recovery, that conversation never happens.
Right.
It's I am not going to do this again, and
Right.
but
And I
some
put
people
things
have that.
into my life so that it will not happen again. And if it does, I'm honest about it.
Yes.
Most of the partners I work with, it's not the slip that bothers them, that they act out again. It's that, okay, we're back into that hidden secret life again, and there's deceit and lies.
Right.
That's the destruction in the sexual addiction.
Exactly.
Um, so they can have choice, and if they do act out again, they have a choice about are they going to be honest or not.
Hmm.
And most women, most people in healthy relationships want an honest partner. They don't want a perfect partner, but they want a real honest one.
Yeah, you need to know where you're at. You need
Mhm.
that sense of security and safety, just like
Right.
you say over and
Right.
over in the book.
Right.
I know during my lengthy period of trying to become healthy again from the
Mhm.
discovery, I had overwhelming feelings of panic and fear, and I'd wake up in a cold sweat. And I've
Mhm.
heard other women describe these same feelings. So,
Yes.
what are the techniques that you would recommend to help relieve those feelings and that stress?
Well, there's not an easy answer to that because it's really specific to the person and their situation, what kinds of symptoms they're having. But basically, it's doing something that is uh, soothing and calming, reassuring. For a lot of women, it's just helpful knowing that you're not crazy for having those symptoms, just having it
Yes.
validated that this is, a reasonable kind of symptomatic response to trauma. That can help reduce some of the anxiety and panic because then they say, oh, okay, well, this is kind of to be expected.
Hmm.
Um, but I think for most partners, they need to have something planned, something that it's like a tool that they can grab when they need it. So it may be some kind of self-statement or mantra or prayer or something that they're telling themselves to counter some of the crazy kind of fear thoughts that they're having. So something like, this panic attack will not last forever. It has a beginning, middle, and end, and I know that I'm going to get to the other side of it.
Hmm.
This cannot kill me. This is just a reminder of what's happened to me in the past. It's not happening now. Whatever it is that they
Hmm.
need to tell themselves. Usually teach women how to do some relaxation kind of exercises, some deep breathing,
Yes.
to help calm some of that anxiety as it occurs. Identifying what some of the triggers are can be helpful because once you identify what they are, then you can have a plan on what you're going to do to deal with it. And we give a lot of examples of dealing with triggers in the book.
Yes.
One that I remember most specifically is a woman said that every time she saw her husband's truck, it triggered her into a panic attack.
Oh.
And as we explored that, it was because he acted out in the truck.
Hmm.
So, I said, well, how about selling the truck? And
Yes.
the whole idea that she would have the power to even say, I need this truck to go away, helped reduce the panic. And then the truck did go away. So
Hmm.
she was very empowered. But it's just finding out what those are and then finding ways of managing them, or finding different meanings, or um, maybe taking a place or a time and building a new memory around it can take some of the power out of the trigger as well.
Yes.
So the main thing is that you're identifying what's going on, you're thinking it through, you're taking good care of yourself, and working with someone to help you come up with definitive ways of coping through whatever that specific trigger is.
Barbara, at some point we have to learn to let go, whether that means letting go of the pain or letting go of the relationship. So what can partners do to get over that hump of finally letting go?
Well, for me, letting go is part of that forgiveness work that we talked about before. And letting go is part of the grief process as well. It takes time. When we let go, we tend to do it in spurts. You know, we let go, we pick it back up again, we let it go again. And I think that's just because it's so hard to do. But we also have to be willing to let go. A lot of times I've heard partners are afraid that if they let go, somehow or another that's going to open them up to hurt again. It's like they hang on to it as a shield or a protection. This pain becomes their protector. But really, letting go of it and moving on from it, in reality, allows healing to occur. It's what opens up the healing process.
Yes.
So it's a process. It's not something that happens easily or quickly. It is a choice. It's like that choice to think about forgiving. It's a choice to think about letting go and moving on. It does require that we take time to take stock of our wounds. So we have to experience the trauma, experience the emotions, experience the cost of what this was in our life and in the relationship. It's not glossing over what happened. It's diving into it and taking stock of it and then saying, okay, now I accept it as real and now I can move on. And I can have it be part of my journey, part of, my life story. I know for me, this letting go and forgiveness was a real stuck place for me. So I thought I might share just a little bit about that.
Oh, I'd love
I
that.
haven't talked very much about my story, but this was an important part for me. I was working with a great therapist, and she asked me how long was I going to straddle the fence between am I going to stay, am I going to go, am I willing to let go of my pain and try to enter into the process of reconciliation, again, because my husband was really doing good recovery work. And we devised a plan of letting go, and it involved me doing something that I didn't have feelings for, and doing something was having compassion, demonstrating compassion for my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And how I was going to do that was I was going to give him a gift. So over several months, I devised a plan of gifting him with something that I knew he would love. Which the last thing I wanted to do was do something nice for him, but it was the only way that my therapist and I could figure that I could find out, could I really have a connection with him again. So over the months, I devised a plan, and I secretly had a guitar built for my husband. My husband loves to play guitar, and he was playing the same old beat-up guitar that he had when he was 16 years old. So had a friend who is a luthier, makes guitars, and so I squirreled away some money and commissioned this guitar for him. And I found that as I was planning this gift giving for him, and then the actual day of giving him the guitar, the work that had been done in my own heart and being able to get excited for, think about what is this going to be like for him to get this gift, really helped me kind of take my focus off protecting myself from him to, I really want to encourage him.
Yes.
So by the time I gave him the guitar, the day he opened it, that was a healing event for me. I know it was for him, but the story part of it for me is that it opened up my heart again to want good things for him.
Yes.
It didn't heal the relationship. It didn't do any of those things, but it opened up a place in my heart where I could want good things for him again. And for me, that was letting go.
That's a beautiful process
It was a
because you
wonderful.
became involved in the guitar,
Hmm.
and while that happened, it opened up your heart. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And it was a demonstration to him of my willingness to open my heart to him. Again, it was a bridge builder. It wasn't the whole bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It was a step in the right direction and a step towards being able to let go.
Wow.
I won't say that I
That's
did it totally that day. It was not that at all, but it's what helped me start the process
mm-hmm.
of forgiveness and letting go.
That's fantastic.
So
Well,
being able
Barbara.
to have
Yes.
compassion and look into the heart of the other person, when you're able to start to do that, that's when you're starting the process of letting go.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you say, it does take time. It takes so
Mm-hmm.
much time. Wow. I can't believe we've come to the end of our journey. This interview series, Barbara, has just been such a wonderful experience. I know that I can speak for all of my listeners when I say that the insight that you have and the information that you have is going to give us all hope for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you would like to add or any topic that we haven't touched upon?
Oh, I don't know if there's any topic we haven't touched on. There probably are, but I think we've really hit the most important points. I guess the main thing I just want to finish with is a reminder that for any partner that's listening to this, you are absolutely not alone. There are so many of us, and a growing number. You have a voice. I want to encourage you to exercise your voice. Talk with other people about your experience. You find that there's healing in being able to speak what's happened to you and to have someone witness that. So please don't carry this burden by yourself. And you have a story that's worth telling. So as you are sharing your story with other people, you are enriching their lives as well. So please don't walk this walk by yourself. The other thing is just a reminder. This is not something that you caused. It's not a sign of a fault or a failure on your part. It is something that happened to you. Any shame that you feel is shame because someone splashed dirty water on you. It's nothing you did to yourself. It's nothing that's uh, wrong in you. It's something wrong that happened to you.
Yes,
And so you can get help for that. I
absolutely.
really want to encourage you to do that.
Oh, Barbara, thank you so much for giving so much of yourself to us. I know that your information is going to help anyone who visits this website and anyone who listens to this series of interviews and anyone who is struggling with their partner's sexual addiction.
Hmm.
I wish you so much success with your book and
Oh,
with your
thank
counseling
you.
career.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for the opportunity that you've provided me just to get this information out. Because that's my passion. The reason for the book and all of this is so that women feel validated, heard, and can be empowered to get their needs met.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is Joanne Russell at marriedtoasexaddict.com, wishing all of you a safe future filled with the satisfaction of good choices and self-empowerment. Until we meet again, take care and be safe.